come and discourage you and try to make you to doubt God, try to show you that God is delayed, that God is taking long, that God has forgotten you. Those are dead meat. Let us not feed on them in our waiting period. As we wait upon the Lord, let us be very careful of what we are feeding in our hearts and what we are feeding in our minds, because that will give us the strength and the grace to wait upon the Lord, and not only to wait upon the Lord, but to wait upon the Lord faithfully and patiently. My dear brothers and sisters in the Lord, when we read about the story of Job, Job is in a waiting period, waiting for God to come and intervene in his situation and intervene in his painful experiences. But we see the wife coming and telling Job, this is too much for you. Why don't you curse this God and die? But Job did not feed that in his mind and in his heart, but he waited upon God faithfully and patiently. What we feed in our souls as we wait upon the Lord matters a lot. And just as eagles which do not feed on dead meat, let us not feed our hearts and our minds with disappointments, with discouragements. And even that it is at our waiting period that the devil reminds us of our past and he makes us to doubt God. And so during your waiting period, be very, very careful not to listen to the voices that will discourage you, and not to listen to the voices that will make you to doubt God and to see like if God is delayed. My dear brothers and sisters, remember God has made a promise in the book of Genesis to Abraham. And God is telling Abraham that I shall bless you with a son. I shall bless you with a child. And it is during the waiting period, when Abraham is waiting upon God to fulfill his promise, that his wife comes in, Sarah, and tells Abraham to sleep with the servant so that they can bear a child. My dear brothers and sisters, during your waiting period, there will come people who will mislead you. There will come people who will try to make you feel like God is delayed, and who will give you fake and wrong advices. Be very careful. Be very careful, because it is during your period of waiting that Satan sends people to come and mislead you. The other characteristic of an eagle that we should learn from during our waiting period is that eagles fly alone. I love this. You will never see eagles associating themselves with any other kind of birds in the birds' kingdom. Eagles fly alone. Eagles stay with fellow eagles. You will never see an eagle associating itself with ravens. You will never see eagles interacting with pigeons. You will never see eagles in the company of doves, because eagles fly alone and eagles stay with fellow eagles. During your waiting period, that thing that you're waiting for the Lord to come through for you, that situation that you're in and you're waiting for God to come and help you, that issue that is beyond you and you're waiting for God to come and handle it for you, be very careful of the people you associate yourself with. There are people who are very good in bringing other people down. There are people who are very good in misleading. There are people who are very good in discouraging others. Be very careful of the people you associate yourself with during your waiting period. My dear brothers and sisters in the Lord, When we read about Job and his painful experiences and his sufferings, we see his friends coming to visit him and to check on him. And the word of God says that they stayed for 7 nights and 7 days without saying anything. But when they opened their mouths to speak, they started discouraging Job and trying to show him like if he had sinned against God, and that was the reason as to why he was suffering. My dear brothers and sisters in the Lord, know the friends that you associate yourself with during your waiting period. Be very careful of the circle of your friends, because there are people who will come to discourage you. There are people who will come to make you feel like you have sinned against God, and that is why God has not come through for you. And again, there are people who will try to help you to wait upon God faithfully and patiently. There are people who will come and share their experiences with you, and they will encourage you, and they will help you to wait upon God faithfully. Know the people that you associate yourself with during your waiting period. And allow me to tell you this. In the book of 1 Samuel chapter 18, we read about the friendship of Jonathan and David. Remember, David was living in a very miserable time and a very, very hard experience, very hard situation, because Saul was running after him because he wanted to kill him. But we read how Jonathan